Ramo Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo Hare Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo Hare Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare Radhamadhava ki jai Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Darf ich in English sprechen? It's okay? You understand? You also? I never know. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Rayanam Namaskritta Naram Chaiva Rotamam Devim Sarasvatam Vyasham Datu Jaya Mudiraya Nastapraya Sabhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Nashtiki. Thank you already that you sing so nicely and enthusiastically. Often when we begin the class it's very quiet, but already it helps, as I'm not such an enthusiastic kirtaniya. So we are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 22, entitled Prithu Maharaj's meeting with the Kumaras. Goes into a lot of detail. We're on text 9 today. And it is written up there, yes. I don't know how they managed with such small pieces of chalk. You managed? You did it? Wow, Alakananda is a magic maker. Remind me, I have some chalk. We tried to find with Brian, we couldn't find it, but I have some children's chalk at home. Okay. So we can, because I wanted maybe to do something interactive, but I thought I don't know if I'm this talented. Okay. Naiva lakshate loko. Naiva lakshayate loko. lokan paryatatopiyan, lokan paryatatopiyan, lokan paryatatopiyan, lokan paryatatopiyan, yata sarvatrisham sarva, yata sarvatrisham sarva, atmanam yesha hetavaha, atmanam yesha Atmanam yeshya hetavaha. Atmanam yeshya hetavaha. Atmanam yeshya hetavaha. Atmanam yeshya hetavaha. I'm sorry for this. Please, Prabhus, can you? Naiva lakshate loko. Lokan paryatatopiyan. Yata saradrisham sarva. Atmanam yeshe hetavaha. Naiva lakshate loko. Lakot paryatatopiyan. Yata sarvadrisham sarva. Atmanam yeshi hetavaha. Vaishnavis? Naiva lakshatate loko. Lokan paryatatopiyan. Yata sarvam drisham sarva. Atmanam yesya hetavaha. Na, not. Eva, thus. Lakshate, can see. Lokaha, people. Lokan, all planets. Paryatata, traveling. Api, although. Yan, whom. Yata, as much as. Sarvadrisham, the super soul. Sarve, in all. Atmanam, within everyone. Ye, those. Asya, of the cosmic manifestation. Hetavaha, causes. Prithu Maharaj continued, although you are traveling in all planetary systems, people cannot know you, just as they cannot know the Supersoul, although he is within everyone's heart, as the witness of everything. Even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva cannot understand the Supersoul. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In the beginning of the Srimad-Bhagavatam, it is said, Muyanti yat suryaya. Great demigods like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Indra and Chandra are sometimes bewildered trying to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It so happened that when Krishna was present on this planet, Lord Brahma and King Indra also mistook him. And what to speak of great yogis or jnanis who conclude that the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead is impersonal. In the same way, great personalities and Vaishnavas, like the four Kumaras, are also invisible to ordinary persons. Sorry, a little bit distracted. Sorry again. So here we have Prithu Maharaj speaking, of course, to the four Kumaras, who maybe look a little unusual. Why do they look unusual? Why do the four Kumaras look unusual? Unusual. Warum sieht sie ein bisschen anderes als andere? Ja, weil... Yeah, sie sind nackt. Yeah, they're naked. And they're young boys, or appear like young boys, okay. So we're talking in this verse about that even personalities like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva cannot understand the super soul. We know the wonderful example of Lord Indra with Giriraj, with Govardhan, that he goes to a lot of efforts to try to even kill Krishna and all of the Brajbasis with his storm, failing to understand, even as the head of the demigods, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? So it says, and what to speak of great yogis or jnanis who conclude that the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, is impersonal. In the same way, great personalities and Vaishnavas, like the four Kumaras, are also invisible to ordinary persons, although they are traveling all over the universe in different planetary systems. When Sanatana Goswami went to see Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he could not be recognized by Chandrasekhara Acharya. The conclusion is that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is situated in everyone's heart, and his pure devotees, the Vaishnavas, are also traveling all over the world. But those who, under the modes of material nature, cannot understand the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the source of this cosmic manifestation, or the Vaishnavas. It is said, therefore, one cannot see the Supreme Personality of Godhead or a Vaishnava with these material eyes. One has to purify his senses and engage in the service of the Lord. Then gradually one can realize who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and who is a Vaishnava. So it's a very important verse today. Once again, the translation. Prithu Maharaj continued, although you are traveling in all planetary systems, people cannot know you, just as they cannot know the super soul, although he is within everyone's heart as the witness of everything. Even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva cannot understand the super soul. I also have a note in my own personal notes that when we are looking in our daily class or come into daily class, that we should relish the Srimad-Bhagavatam. This word relishing and this notion, there's a whole series of lectures on this, is from Krishna Kshetra Maharaj, where he speaks about when we are any part of our spiritual life, from attending morning program to attending the class, it should have some benefit. It should not be something, tick, that I managed on the list. What are we getting from the class that we go? And then sometimes people then don't attend classes within the temple because they're like, I listened to a class from my guru or this person, or what happens. Ramananda speaks often that it's important to attend the classes that happen in the local area, because often they may pick up on issues which are relevant to the whole community. And often there are not so many in the temple room, but many listen afterwards and online. At least sometimes they contact me to say. So in this moment where we understand that we have to relish this moment, I try to understand the essence, because a lot in this chapter is on different notions or aspects of Prithu Maharaj's meeting with the Kumaras. However, in particular, in this text, it speaks about that it's very hard to know who the personality of Godhead and also who a Vaishnava is. Like the Kumaras are not instantly recognized for who they are. And Prabhupada speaks in this about when Sanatana Goswami went to see Lord Chaitanya, he could not be recognized by Chandrasekhara Acharya. Now, some of you may know this part, but I was not so clear, so I went into this from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela, and from chapter 20, a little bit onwards. So Sanatana Goswami goes to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I'll read from the translation, it's not so long. After a few days, Sanatana Goswami arrived at Varanasi. He was very pleased to hear about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's arrival there. Sanatana Goswami then went to the house of Chandrasekhara and sat down by the door. understanding what was happening, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke to Chandrasekhara. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "There is a devotee at your door. Please call him in." Going outside, Chandrasekhara could not see a Vaishnava at his door. When Chandrasekhara informed the Lord that no Vaishnava was at his door, the Lord asked him, "Is there anyone at all at your door?" Chandrasekhara replied, "There is a Muslim mendicant." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately said, "Please bring him here." Chandrasekhara then spoke to Sanatana Goswami, who was still sitting beside the door. "O Muslim mendicant, please come in, the Lord is calling you." Sanatana Goswami was very pleased to hear this Lord, and he entered Chandrasekhara's house. As soon as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu touched Sanatana Goswami, Sanatana was overwhelmed with ecstatic love. In a faltering voice, he said, "Oh my Lord, do not touch me." Shoulder to shoulder, Sri Chaitanya and the Sanatana Goswami began to cry unlimitedly. Chandrasekhara was very much astonished to see this. So we understand that Sanatana Goswami was a pure soul. Lord Chaitanya understood. Chandrasekhara was also a very exalted devotee. I think it's explained that he was the maternal uncle of Sri Chaitanya by marriage. And the fact that the Lord was staying in his home shows that also he was a great devotee. And it's interesting, this aspect, though, that he did not immediately recognize another great soul. So, and I read that, I thought, oh, then what hope is there for us? What hope? Oh dear, like a whole, we see, we come in, because ISKCON is a very large operation, I would say. In one sense, we are taught the basics. So you come to the temple, okay, Prabhu, I can give you dhoti, kurta, the sari, don't worry, in the ashram we have lots there, you just take whatever you like, tilak, shave up, if you're a Prabhu, hair up, if you're a Mataji, we send tick boxes. You see it, they seem to jump on the floor or jump up in the air in the temple room. We can follow the rhythm of what's going on. It's also quite nice. So in there's certain things which are uniform or almost part of our movement, right? Now, if we go deeper, we understand, okay, this Vaishnava clothing is close to also what's there in the spiritual world. We can understand this. But to begin with, generally, we wear it often to fit in or to be how the others are. And often, too, at the beginning, most people come with a very, normally, individual, personal aspiration. Wow, what is Bhakti Yoga? What is my aspiration towards the Lord? I found something here. Something here seems to be decent and good. Let me try this. So as we try this, we then told it that, hey, Prabhu, that is a prasadam bowl. Don't mix it with the boga bowl. Boga. That's what they're talking about. What's happening, huh? There's this boga. I still remember my first days in the pujari room. And I could understand the boga was in the boga, in the Lord Nishingadev's bowls. Then it was offered to the Lord. So then it was prasadam. That this couldn't be put in the same place as the other bowls, And I was like, yes, but it's also now prasadam. It took some time to understand things which come very natural now. Come on, why is this person going in the kitchen? A couple of years ago, we had a volunteer who started to eat in the deity kitchen, or the kitchen downstairs. And the rest of us were like, what's going on? Of course this can't happen. Narahari's face, I still remember, what? And then the worst part, it was from a prasadam bowl. So the volunteer, she was a bit older, she had the spoon in her hand. She'd already taken one, and Narahari was like, stop. And you could see the face in this moment. Should she finish? Should I finish this one? I think it was sweet rice. It looked something quite nice. Should I finish or not? Yes, the desire. It's also like our desires, like, well, come on, you don't want to finish this, and do I really have to waste a whole 5 minutes by transferring it down and drinking and washing myself and this and the other? So it's like amazing, because there's many things that we learn along the way. And in that moment, because I wasn't the person, the authority, Narahari had to deal with it. You know, she said it in a very nice way, although she was shocked. I could see it with a point of humor, that actually we are so used to so many things within the temple and how we are with each other, that it may seem extreme for others. Jai, Shri Shri Prahlad Lakshmi Nrsimhadev Ki Jai. My favorite colors, pink and yellow today, very beautiful. So we get used to many things, and it may not be necessary that these are parts of the rules and regulations that we follow, but they're not necessarily all the parts that make us a devotee. Sometimes I thought we would, but I don't know if I risk it. I wanted to ask for a moment, just as this example here, it says at the moment, sometimes we cannot see who is a Vaishnava. Just think for a moment, what do you see or recognize as a Vaishnava? What is important for you when you see someone? Brain comes with is there a quality? I'm sorry. Just to wake us up in the morning. When you think of a devotee, what do you think? What quality?
Very nice.
Nice.
And not
Very nice.
very nice.
Very nice. Okay, very nice. Wow, very nice. Okay, what is your name?
Vadim. Not selfish.
Not selfish. What's that in a... What can we do that in a... Not selfish, so giving or generous?
He wants to give, not to take.
Oh, okay. Give, not take.
Give, not take.
It's like using a pen or... Not, okay. Oh, sorry, now to confuse you, Brian.
To be empathic in his talking.
Emphatic, very nice. In his talking?
In his talking, yes.
Okay, emphatic in speech, is that okay?
In speech, yes, and his actions also.
In actions. Okay.
Yes, kind towards others.
Kind. Okay, kind. Okay.
Mataji?
What is your name, Prabhu? Tribanga. Tribanga Gopal. Nice.
Clean.
Clean. That's important. Clean. A Vaishnava. What do you look for when you see another devotee? How do you know? Oh, they have an aura, like yes. a presence, an aura. Okay, yeah. It said that, I think, about the Kumaras, that there was a glow or a dint about them, I think, a few verses, so an aura.
Also very smart, like knowledgeable.
Not a?
Knowledgeable, like
knowledgeable,
smart.
knowledgeable. Knowledgeable. Wow. Very nice. Okay.
Personal?
Person? Sorry?
Not impersonal, personal?
Not impersonal, personal.
Personal, yes.
Yes. I write not impersonal, yeah.
An example, not to talk about devotees, talk with devotees.
Did you say not talk about devotees, talk with devotees?
Yes,
Oh, very nice.
That's personal,
I
not
like
impersonal.
I like that. There's a positive take on the not fault finding. Oh, we talk with the devotees. So do you mean directing personally also if there was a problem? Yeah, not behind
This is
them.
not Vaishnavism.
Okay. talk directly. Okay.
I'm always in a good mood.
Oh, wow. Okay, I think I should leave the room already. Always in a good mood.
It's a long way to go.
But sometimes Srila Prabhupada came to a room and things were not properly done. And he was quite heavy. He was not happy about what happened. Just asking you, just as a little question. Sometimes, manchmal ist Srila Prabhupada ist irgendwo, zum Beispiel ist in meinen Tempel gegangen und es war nicht so wirklich so gut gemacht auf die Alte und alles. Und er war ein bisschen so unzufrieden und hat dann so gesagt, das so geht nicht, bitte das wirklich richtig machen. Bleib so. Ich sage nur einfach. Ne, keine Frage, ja, du kannst es sagen. I just given, yeah. So always in a good mood, but it's nice. It's nice to have this.
Also serious?
Serious. No joking.
Like, no, not in that way. In
No?
the way
Okay,
of
good.
Spiritual service.
So you're allowed to joke.
Of course.
Serious in spiritual endeavor or spiritual action or...
Piece of chalk, it's there.
If Alakananda can do it, I thought I can also try. She wrote the whole verse up. This is the whole endeavor. I mean, could be a bit better. Nice. So very nice. Very nice. Kind to others. Emphatic speech in speech. Emphatic in speech, in actions. In heart?
It's the conclusion.
The conclusion, yes. Could it be that to fit in, to be a perfect devotee, I may try to be kind, very nice, have some prasadam. You know, we heard he likes that. I should give him some prasadam. That I could be very, I'm sorry, had a bad day. Could it be that sometimes I could also maybe just try to fit in? Could it be? I'm just asking, just a Frage. Es könnte es auch sein, dass ich probiere das einfach zu machen, weil ich weiß, es ist schön zu sein. Dass ich mag etwas, weil ich weiß, es ist gut, wenn ich mag das. Nicht, weil ich wirklich das fühle oder spüre.
Sure, but it's a kind of etiquette.
It's an etiquette.
It's an etiquette.
So do you...
Not to hurt someone else.
Aha.
It's something to learn from us.
So to be kind in this, yes.
It's like this.
Yes, because... Was it a
I
few...
think it's important if you have a position, you know, if you are...
Yes, not to be yelling at somebody. Or I wonder if I can sit down or whether it will not work.
I understand what you mean. It's very nice and kind to others. It's like an outside thing.
But some...
But, and to talk empathic and to be in actions, in speech and empathic and in actions empathic, it's not an outside thing. It's more from inside. That's my understanding.
Yeah, I just wanted to challenge it, but it's true. Empathy, at least in terms of a dictionary definition, is something when you really have a feeling for the other person. Sympathy can be both ways. So sympathy could be, oh, that poor person on the street. Empathy is usually a Mitgefühl, sagt man in Deutsch, a feeling that you go inside. So it cannot just be really reflected in being just too external. So, and on that, we had a conversation, actually it was last week in the class, because as you may hear from my accent, I'm from England. So general dealings with others and etiquette is very important, like to greet someone in the morning or to ask how they are or things along these lines. And then on the other side of it, somebody raised a relevant point, but how much is that superficial and how much of that is real? And my own conclusion, because it's too much ingrained, is that, well, there at least should be some part of it. Yeah, there should be some element, and depending actually on what frame of mind you are, it should be authentic. So when somebody, at least how I grew up, if I were to ask you, how are you? The reply should not be, I'm fine, thank you, which is what my boy learns in school. It's okay to say, it's not the best of days, but let's hope it gets better, or things along these lines. But the etiquette is also not that I ask you, how are you, and you don't start yelling at me. Like, has occasionally happened to me, not in England, but so it was like, rah, it's the worst possible day, and it's happened. It's like, okay, right, sorry, but no problem to speak about it. So there is a certain empathy and balance in how we should speak and how we should act with other people. Being clean. Yeah, so you also wrote this aura. This is interesting, because when I first met my Guru Maharaj, Satchidananda Swami, I just saw this sort of ray or something, this ray which they'd also described about Prabhupada. Maybe we all feel this when we see our Guru, I'm not sure. I was like a little bit like, wow, okay, not really into this stuff here. Was a little bit quite cynical when I joined, I'm not sure. I'm a practical person. I'm not sure, it's a little bit too much, sort of, all of it. But I was like, wow, he has this aura or this glow. There's something about him. Maybe I'll listen to what he has to say. And on the very first day I met him, he invited us over to have darshan. Of course, I didn't know what that meant. I thought, I don't know, darshan, to see the deities or something. I didn't understand that meant a one-to-one meeting. So something was already there. And because it was when I thought, okay, this is a very interesting person, and not just this, is something that seems to be close to him. And he seemed to understand. I had, in my slightly no-nonsense approach, I asked a question, and he answered it in a very genuine, authentic way. He didn't give me like, who are you, some nobody, to ask me a question, because it was a personal question. It was to do with, I asked, you seem like a very spiritual person, but also very sick. What is happening? What is it? Because energetically, the aura was very high, but when someone has a very deep illness, then energetically you also see it's not quite. So he told me at that time he was very sick. So one could understand this at this level. Knowledgeable. Yes, somebody who has lots of knowledgeable in what, though, Alex? In worldly affairs.
In what?
Worldly affairs. In everything outside, they could win mastermind.
No, I mean like studying scriptures and like when you heard a lot of lectures and read a lot of stuff like that.
When you've had a lot, when you know the Shastra, sort of the spiritual knowledge, so knowledgeable in spiritual matters. I used to think I was intelligent. I did very good at school, could read things, could memorize things, everything. Then I came to the temple, that they started to chant and do mantras, and I was like, oh, what is this for a foreign language? Doesn't make sense. But you're Indian. No, I'm from England. The body is just brown. What's going on here? Come to the temple and people come, wow, from India, Vaishnavi, very wonderful, and they hug me. Oh wow, okay, nice. They're never coming, oh, you Indian, you think you know everything. Oh, what are you? Oh, sorry. Also not me, you know. So I always found it very interesting how, of course, you know, I fit the part in the sari, although most of my life maybe I wore jeans. I mean, no, I cannot say most of my life because I've lived here 15 years now, so almost 15 years. So, but a good part of my life, you know, I worked outside in London, I studied outside. What is it, I thought, what is it that makes me a Vaishnavi or not? And then the first response is, oh, I'm not anyway, so let's not even try. But this is not relevant because actually, of course, we are trying to follow a path. Sometimes within the community, we have there can be two sides, because of course outside, those who live outside must work quite hard often to maintain themselves. And in the temple, we feel we work hard to maintain the temple, right? And there can be this sort of, oh, but them and us and this, you know, it happened not just here, but also in England too. I remember the two different, this was between the Gujaratis and the English people. And I would always end up in both camps. You know, I didn't understand why. Normally I was just a quiet listener, because especially at the beginning you're not sure what's happening. But it's important to understand that most of these elements of us and them are sort of irrelevant. We cannot truly understand, I suppose, the heart of a Vaishnava just by the external appearance. However, it gives some clue. One cannot just say, okay, we run around in the temple and there is no spiritual input. Sorry, it's okay. Cannot see Manju because I have the board in the way. I just saw a devotee. It's okay. That's nice. So, no, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, it's my own fault for trying to be interactive. That's better. Yeah. So we also have the different elements where we can look at devotees in the temple or outside of the temple and think, this is a Vaishnava, this isn't a Vaishnava. This is a person, this isn't a person. In the example of Chandrasekhara, it was not that the Lord chastised him later or anything. Everything just continued. It's like it just continued. I just mentioned it because Prabhupada mentions it in the purport that actually he was a very exalted devotee, he didn't see him, and then so he continued. But you see in this example, Chandrasekhara didn't make any offense. He just saw him for his external appearance in that way, you know, as a Muslim mendicant. And sometimes I also think we don't know who's entering also within our scheme of things or within the temple, but at the same time, therefore we should be respectful to all that appear. It can be a bit difficult always to be in a good mood. I do mention this because once Satyananda Swami was giving a lecture as to why, as devotees, is it that sometimes we can be the most harsh with one another. I think it was the word harsh he used. And then he talked about some research that had been conducted within religious organizations, which explained that our ideal sometimes as spiritual qualities or as religious people, because these are sort of, you could say also normal qualities, but they are so high that sometimes we can then judge others who are not like that. Oh, how can they be how can that person not be a devotee because he appears unhappy? Or how can he be a devotee when obviously he doesn't know how to clean himself, or like this? And this was this understanding that this element of fault finding that can seep in. We're often told not to do it, but we end up. This was a very nice way how Krishna Chandra Chandra, I always call you Krishna Charan, my husband always corrects me, Krishna Chandra, talked about that we should be not impersonal and talk directly to others, so that this talk behind the back is omitted. That is a quality which avoids sort of fault finding, which we hear, and also criticizing others. As you may or may not realize, we go into this element of the 26 qualities of a Vaishnava. The first one, as Vadim mentioned, third one, sorry, is being kind. So being kind to everyone. Does not quarrel with anyone. Wow, that's very tough. Not quarreling. Oh, comes the husband. We never quarrel. Oh, Ramanand. Not true.
What?
What? Again. So quarreling. There's also I'm like a bit of a Kshatriya background. So generally, it's not that we like to fight, but we don't like when injustice happens. So therefore, it's a little not. With this. So over the years in the temple, I've learned how to keep my mouth shut sometimes. Because sometimes it's not necessarily your fight, right? Sometimes it may be that something is not happening according to how it should be. So my first point of call, as opposed to in that way going necessarily directly, is to go to the Lord and say, Nishigate, help. If I should deal with this, then please put it in a situation where it's very clear for me that I should directly speak to this person. And if not, then bring this person away. And I remember at least 2 examples where one person I would see every day, and I thought, oh, should I speak? And then I prayed, and the person was completely out of view. And another example was the opposite, where I asked, and it was through an older Mataji, if I should speak, please bring her. And unusually, that very day, quite soon after prayer, she knocked on the door. And I said, I don't know, but could I express what I thought I should say? It was to do with something about the mother or something along these lines. But so in this way, it's understanding, okay, it's not that we want to quarrel with anyone, but then to stay. It's also hard. Sometimes it can also be in a situation which can feel quite unfair. I've had situations too where sometimes one is shouted at, and then the instinct is to try to defend, or what one can say is argue back. But actually, sometimes Krishna is kind, and sometimes I'm so stunned I don't say anything. So in this situation, I think afterwards, in terms of material way, why didn't I fight back or stand up for my rights? But sometimes, again, it's nothing to do with you. You start it's not, sometimes other people's problems can come into your forefront as devotees. So that one is a tough one. 3, fixed in the absolute truth. So this is something, I think, which links in maybe with aura and here. This fixed in, okay, what is my goal today? Sometimes as devotees we can also forget in our Vaishnava dealings or daily life, what is my authentic mission right now? What am I trying to do? Okay, I'm trying to see and remember Krishna. The other things are parts of the puzzle, but actually, what is it that ultimately brings me today in this moment to think of the Lord and to remember Him? 3, equal to everyone. Oh, it's also tough. I realize that. Because we have friends, right? We have people we naturally like more. And there's others we don't. But still, equally, I've heard in translation, is how we treat others. It's not that, say I have a personal problem and everyone is equal, so I just tell anyone I see my problem. No. This is, it's like this. We choose it very carefully, but equal to that we are fair, right? How we treat each other. Faultless. Oh, again, this is like, we are later on, we hear that we are prone to having a human body, and therefore we have fault. but therefore we try faultless. Charitable, this being kind or giving to others, giving rather than taking. Being mild. Mild is often not discussed enough, I think, but mild also goes in terms of empathy, I think, in speech and actions, that we are mild and controlled in how we talk to others. The opposite of being mild is this harshness, this sort of like, why you do this? And this harshness can really hurt us. Yes, because we feel it in a way more subtle even than if somebody is shouting at us. This sort of criticizing moment. This mildness is okay. You may see that something is not quite going right, but you still try to deal with it in a sort of a genuine but sweeter mood. Like this. Also not so easy sometimes. Okay, number 8. You mentioned clean, being clean. Being simple. Simple is hard for me because I have a complicated mind, but one tries. Over time, we have in some sense, a simple way of living. When you follow the morning program, when you do your service, when you're reading, it flows after a time. But certainly, I think this takes some time of practice. Then the mind also becomes a little bit more simple, to the point, having been more or less in London for 10, 15 years, in central London. When I go back, I'm like, wow, so complicated here. One understands that now with distance, that life, so many things are on offer there, like signs here and this. You could do so many things, and mostly not think of Krishna. Oh, if you go to the Harinam, yes, of course you can go back in. But it's Soho Street Temple in London. It's like an oasis. But as soon as you step out, you are in right, literally the middle of central London, and everything is done there. Even it's located in the red light district in London, so the area is not so. So also this being peaceful. I don't go through everything because of the time, but being peaceful. I find as we begin our spiritual practice, as we chant, as we do the practice, and from the devotees that have also come to me over the years, that often it's not that we feel peaceful. We're feeling the opposite. We're feeling, because it feels that things are churning in the consciousness. And anything that we could have maybe previously swept under the carpet, the spiritual input brings things up. Depends how honest you were to yourself beforehand, but it brings more elements of not necessarily bad. And this level of peace, what is peace? Being peace is okay, everything is good, fine sometimes. But being truly peaceful is understanding that we are part and parcel of Krishna, that he's ultimately taking care of us in every moment, and in the past and also in the future. So that's different. There's a different level of peace and of understanding this element and there. Then it ties in with the next one, which is completely attached to Krishna. Completely attached to Krishna. Later we have friendly. We even have as a quality poetic. Poetic. He's a good poet over there. So we should become poetical in what we say. I mean, in how we give poet. It's there also in Nectar of Devotion. We should be straightforward in our dealings, right? Expert and silent. Silent, I've also heard in the understanding that we should speak on topics of Krishna, on the related, and on other things remain silent. That's the understanding of silence. So not so much prajalpa or talks on the material aspect of what's going on. Yeah, so it's interesting. Sometimes it can be, in terms of seeing a Vaishnava, we may see some elements, and to get that it should not just be external that we see. If we were to be presented with the Sanata Kumaras, we would be a little shocked. Maybe for naked boys would be okay, because they're boys, like this, the whole, but still that we would say that they're exalted, or it might be difficult for us to see. And also in our daily dealings, it may be different to understand who is a devotee, not just because of external dress, right? To go beyond that, to see how is the person in their words, in their speech, and in their actions. It's an interesting topic because of this element that sometimes when we see others, we maybe can misunderstand them, or we can also put too much trust in them too. That we're all, someone asked me, we're all devotees, but how can they behave like this, this, and this? How can it be? How can it be, but we're all devotees? And someone once told me to take off my rose-colored glasses. You understand this? So when you see the world all fluffy and wonderful and nice, this is basically how I live, I'm sorry, yeah? So I still stick with the vision that everything is wonderful and beautiful, but external one understands that in this material world, we are faced with so many difficulties, and other people have also faced so many difficulties. So what they present to us or with us in whatever they do, could also be in their service, is some expansion of what they have to deal with. And we have to learn if we go with that same story, meaning that we also get lost in their mess, or we step outside and away from it. And you have situations in life which may take you off your own road of bhakti. I had one person say, no, I avoid the temple room because that person may also be in the temple room. Okay, you don't want to get into an argument with that person, but on the other side, then you miss the darshan of the Lord. Then you miss that association with the other devotees who could bring you up. Better in that example to pray to the Lord and to be like, okay, please help me and protect me that I also don't say anything I shouldn't to this other person. Please let it be that I also have this unflinching focus on the Lord. Is it hard? Yes, sometimes it can be, right? But it's not impossible. That's the point. It's almost like a test that we have, a fire test, a test of what is going on with us. Can we see the Lord as He is? If we understand that the Lord is all-powerful and that He is the one looking over, then we can understand that He has more power than sometimes these external dealings that we may or may not have with others. I say this because living in the temple, it's that we want that it's harmonious with everyone. Sometimes it's not like that. It doesn't mean that we have to let go of the etiquette or we stop being, helpful from a distance, if not. But definitely, there's always an attitude to look further into our own qualities. I say it's kind to others. We should also be kind to ourselves in that way too, that we understand that Krishna loves us, that we have a lot of imperfect qualities, it could be, but it does not stop us from following the path of Bhakti Yoga. Every step, every small element of service that we contribute to the Lord, we try to offer it to Him. And then we see it as being complete. And every time we enter into that service, remembering the qualities, we also have to remember that when we complete the service, it's not my service. It's our service to the Lord. If in your service you are somehow harming or somehow devotees are disturbed, some balance up may also be needed, right? In terms of how we approach that service. If we are just sort of a lone ship, this is my service for the Lord, at one moment you see that it may stop in this. We have to continue with what we do, and in that way the Lord purifies also our internal qualities as devotees. Make sense? A little bit. Please ask a question if it's a little unclear. You have the mic. Oh, you don't have a microphone. You have a grapefruit, an orange in your hand.
Hare Krishna. Yes, thank you for bringing us in this deep thinking about what a Vaishnava is or what we want to be. And so I just want to make a comment on it, maybe a little comment, because we were talking about artificial acting, and I was thinking, okay. But if there's desire to to start with this artificial acting, and we have the desire to bring our love in it, then it's also okay, I think. For cost of the first step, I have to go into this. How to go into this? What do you think about this?
They call it fake it till you make it. Huh? Fake it till you make it. So fake it till you make it goes to a certain level. You understand? Fake it until you make it. So you're faking, for example, being a good dancer, but you learning everything that a dancer learns. But at one moment you have to overcome that level. Same as a devotee. I can put on a sari, have my tilak in the right place, say what I think you need to hear. But that transformation of the heart also has to take place. And that usually takes place on a very individual process. And usually I will say that the making or breaking point, you cannot fake it for too long. You have perfect Vaishnava behavior, so to say, and that person then continues to be a devotee. Or sometimes they break and they freak out or leave the temple or something happens. Then one, I would say, sees that other element for that person. But definitely there is an element. We all had to take it, you know. I mean, I remember for the first few weeks I refused to put a sari on. I was like, this is too complicated for my spiritual practice, that I'm fussing about at 4 o'clock in the morning rather than going to see the Lord. So at one moment I understood, okay, maybe I have to understand this whole sari element, right? I think I had 8 safety pins in to keep it somehow. But you know, so there is a moment where it's a balance up. It's a balance up. Just sometimes you've seen, I met one Mataji who was in the ashram, I think at the manor years back, and she said, but I did everything as perfect as I could. I tried, I did my service perfectly. I did everything nicely, but how am I now a mess now? And one question as we spoke was, what was the internal work that was going on inside? You know, what was that aspect? Where was that? Were you nice to others because you just read it, or had you understood that actually a Vaishnava is kind to everyone because this is essentially what how the Lord behaves, how He wants us to be? You know? Was it just theory? It says in the beginning of Srimad-Bhagavatam, right, in the first canto, that it is not that we accept everything that's here, but we should theoretically accept that it's true. And that is that understanding too, theoretically meaning maybe it's true, but at one element, so that keeps the openness. It's not just that we're rebellious and we sit there with, I don't know, with our dreadlocks and this, you know. So we try, but the understanding also has to slowly come in. The balance up of both sides has to be there. I've had both sides. I've had people where you seem like that seem quite fake and not authentic. And on the other side, people who are so, what they say, genuine that they may yell at you, you know? And I would say that a balance up, because as Vaishnava, we should balance, is much better, right? To be.
So it was 2 days in the evening ago, we were talking about this, and I was telling, we are not the community of walk this way and talk this way. So now I was reflecting, come on, but in the first time maybe you have a desire and you walk, and you also said you dance like the other dance, and so maybe you get the mood, like this, huh? Isn't it like?
Yeah, you have to learn the basics.
Yes,
it's like when you
just to come into the mood, yes.
Yeah, the same as when you become a musician. If you learn to play guitar, someone has to teach you the chords that everyone, I think have chords at the beginning. It's the same chords that everyone plays. You're not a sheep, but you have to learn these basic elements so that you can then later on find your own rhythm in it. Just, it's this element of still being, oneself in it, still not. So at the beginning you may be, Hare Krishna, how may I serve you? I remember I wanted to have darshan with Krishna Kshetra Swami years ago. And they said, you should always ask him how you can serve him. So I remember we spoke like this, and then I asked this line because they told me, how can I serve you? And because he's a very down-to-earth person, he said, well, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I'm a designer, and then I could happily serve in a very small capacity to help him with one of his books back then. But it was nice because he took it in a genuine way. Other people may be like, leave it. But it's, if you approach, even when I didn't understand what I was saying, he took it in a way that made sense, with it. It's also this element that how much is it that we be authentic as well as try to fit in with a good mood? Is that balance up? Like, for example, if I'm not in a good mood, then one keeps oneself a little bit away. One doesn't make a scene openly in public, right? But quietly one then reflects or speaks to someone about it. There may be doubts, and we also talk about what goes on. But definitely, just to indicate, it's not that we're not a Vaishnava if we're in a bad mood or if we get angry or something comes up, but it's this element of Prabhupada saying that we're in the shower, right? That we're getting clean. We're on the road. Yeah, we are on the process of it. It should not give us the free space like the elephant who gets clean and then immediately rolls himself in the mud. So that's compared to us being rude or mean to someone and then immediately trying to, run to Tulsi for forgiveness and then doing it again and then again and again. We should try to learn, right, from our behavior. Sometimes it happens, so we have like wonderful pure devotee of Tulsi, our prayers in the morning to help forgive what goes on, but it's a process. And understanding that process, also understanding that it's okay. I go back to Chandrasekhara when he didn't really recognize him, but he wasn't offensive to him. So the story continues in the same way. Lord Chaitanya had another rhythm there with Sanatana Goswami in their sort of loving exchanges. So important. Yeah, food for thought, that's all. Yeah. So one aspect, just to cover their a contemplation today, what do we see as a Vaishnava? I would like to be. Please don't be too heavy on yourselves if you don't make the mark. But also the last point for today is, how is it that sometimes we don't see the Lord? Is it sometimes that we don't recognize that the Lord is really in front of us? And how could we recognize that, hey, here really is Lord Nrsimhadev present in front of us? Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you.